This story is called Jodies Fairies, and I am Grandpa Kim, the storyteller. Jodie is a beautiful little girl who is 12 years old and loves butterflies. But Jodie has a little secret and spent a lot of time in hospital. You see, Jodie has a form of cancer and had to go for treatments regularly, but didn't mind because she got to spend time in the garden. They smelt so lovely and the flowers so beautiful. Jodie loved the stories told her by Nurse Penny. Now, Nurse Penny would tell Jodie enchanting stories about butterflies, and if you listened really careful, you could hear their wings beating as they flew from flower to flower, and how butterflies were very close friends with the fairies and would often play games together in the garden when no one was around. The fairies and the butterflies would fly so high in the sky, twirling and spinning around and around, leaving sparkling, swirling trails behind them. They would then fly very fast back down towards the flowers in the garden, like rockets, and whoosh, the whole garden would light up with sparkling lights and would seem very magical and very real. Jodie, after one of her treatments, was very ill, but still insisted on going to the garden. It was late, but the doctors agreed because Jodie was so ill. Jodie sat wrapped in a blanket on the swinging seat under the big tree in the middle of the garden. She fell asleep. So, as the nurses moved all the other patients inside, they didn't notice Jodie on the swinging seat. Soon Jodie was alone in the garden, and because she was still asleep, even the fairies didn't notice that she was there and began to play their games. As they flew about, they created sparkles, and not just a few sparkles. Everywhere they flew, they left a beautiful trail. Just then one of the fairies flew past the swinging seat and noticed Jodie snuggled up in her blanket, very pale. So she called the other fairies over, and they all flew very silent in one spot and wondered if the little girl was okay. Just then Jodie woke up and rubbed her eyes, only to see hundreds of fairies floating around her. One of them came forward and asked if she was okay, and she replied, "I will be when I'm finished my treatments for cancer." The fairies spoke amongst themselves for a moment and then came back. The fairy that spoke before said to Jodie that because she was being so brave, the fairies decided to give her a special get-well wish. This is not given to just anybody, only to those that really deserve it. Suddenly, the lights went on and the fairies disappeared. It was Nurse Penny. "I'm sorry, my dear. We forgot you were out here. My, you are looking so much better now." "Yes," replies Jodie. "The fairies gave me a special wish." "Really?" replies Nurse Penny. "That was very nice of them. Come on, we had better get you inside now." As Jodie went inside, she turned for a moment and whispered, "Thank you," to the fairies, and they responded with trails of sparkles. Well, that's the end of this story, and I thank you for listening. I am Grandpa Kim, the storyteller.